Thank you very much and hello everybody. My name is John McCartney and I am Director of Research at the property company Savills. And I'm going to briefly summarise recent research that I have done with my co-author David Duffy of the ESRI on retail rents in Ireland. In essence, retail investment is becoming a bigger part of the commercial property scene in Ireland, and there's a number of really big retail properties that are going to be sold this year. Surely investors will have an interest in these properties, but one of the dilemmas investors face is having to try and get a picture on what's likely to happen to retail rents into the future. Currently, what investors try to do is they try to monitor a range of macroeconomic variables which they perceive to be leading indicators of the consumer economy. And the reason for this is that if the consumer economy picks up, then it follows that consumers' demand for retail services should pick up, and ultimately that means that shopkeepers will want more space, and all else equal, that should drive up rents. So what variables are these investors looking at? Well, they're looking at a whole range of variables: GDP, GNP, employment growth, average earnings, household disposable incomes, the consumer sentiment index, VAT receipts, and so forth. And that's great. The problem is, currently they've no way of discriminating between those variables to say which ones are most important in determining retail rental growth. And what we've tried to do in our research is to give a mathematical structure to this. We have used statistical relationships dating back 18 years to try and decipher over time what are the strongest relationships between the drivers of retail rents and the retail rental index. And our results, I think, show some interesting and perhaps surprising findings. Earnings growth, growth in household disposable incomes, they don't really matter for retail rents. The one thing that matters above all else is employment growth. A 1% increase in jobs growth today brings about a 0.85% increase in real retail rental growth 5 quarters later. So that's a really important result. The other things that seem to be important are consumer sentiment. That has an important impact on rents, and also the construction of new retail space can dampen rental growth, but there's none of that happening at the moment, and there's none scheduled to come on stream for the foreseeable future. Overall, our model helps us then to understand the relationships between the macroeconomic variables that drive rents and the movements in retail rents themselves. The final thing our model does is it provides a forecasting mechanism for forecasting retail rents into the future. While the overall IPD retail rents index is an average, it does establish the baseline for rental growth in the market. And using our model, we have forecast that this index will increase by about 2 or 2.5% over the next 4 quarters. And that's a very much improved picture over what we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years when retail rents were falling. So overall, there's a slow recovery in retail rents, and that's going to continue. But within that, certain markets like the main high streets in Dublin and the main shopping centres around Dublin will continue to really perform much better than the average. Whereas, of course, in some weaker markets in the regions, perhaps, you will continue to see some schemes struggle. But overall, an increasing and improving baseline. Thank you for listening.